Hey, we're back. How's it going?
It's dry. How's it going with you?
Good. I was at Panorama. It was dry.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about the drought in Canada
Uh,
up at
somebody
Revelstoke?
somebody turned off the taps. I don't know who it was, but somebody just decided, yeah, let's slam the brakes for um, the ski season. We have. I think it's going to be roughly around the last time we jumped on, and we've not had any snow since. So yeah, the good news is things are changing. He's back. So
Yeah, same thing at Panorama. They had a good base there, which we don't even have in the inland northwest.
yeah.
But it was chalky at best and icy underneath the chalk. So you always wanted to make sure you had your knees bent in case you're going to eat it on some
Yeah.
ice. But at least you have the snow up there because you got dumped on in December.
Yeah, we were fortunate, and like, let's be honest, it could have gone the an even worse way than it actually did. Like, at least it was cool and dry rather than warm and dry here. So we've had, I want to say, maybe 2.5 weeks of pretty much like negative temperatures, cold temperatures, top to bottom. So it has had a couple of upsides in the sense that the groomers have been good. They've been churning out snow for a couple of events coming up on the lower sections of the mountain here at Revelstoke. So
Good
that
visibility.
yeah, Viz has been great. You know, bluebird skiing pretty much. Cold, don't get me wrong, cold. But yeah, nice to kind of get that sunshine. And yeah, I mean the lower section should be in pretty good shape now, and we're starting to see some snow. The forecast heading into the back end this week, we're looking at May roughly around 15 to 17 centimeters heading into the weekend, which is, I mean, any resort will take that at this point because you're about to dive into the busiest time of the year, right? So I don't know how you guys are feeling up there, but I imagine you'll be doing your snow dances.
Yeah, it's worse down here than up there. At least you have the base. We don't even have the base.
Mm.
Schweizer's our biggest resort, and it's about 2/3 open, which is insane in this time of year.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have some video of the situation up there, don't you? You want to play some
I,
video?
I do. Well, I mean, there's a few things I guess to talk about around it. I mean, let's start with what it was like back when like things were good. So just as we hit the new year, if you want to bring up the pod clip,
Okay.
um, so that is Slack Country.
Nice. That's looking good. That was early season, right?
This was literally New Year, back on New Year's Day. Group of us decided not to drink heavily on New Year's Eve. We did a tour day in what was known as Montana Bowl, um, which is right off the slack country. You push out a bit. I mean, as you can see, beautiful bluebird, but nice, soft, that typical Champagne Revy powder. Now, or what's probably good to bring this clip up is because I rode a part of that on Friday, again on another Clearbird day, but it could not have been more contrasting conditions. Clear day, yeah, but when you've had 2.5 weeks on a southerly facing slope, so a lot of sun exposure, what that gets you is a lot of thaw and refreeze. And so, whilst the AVI danger has been pretty low in most of the areas right now, just because of the sheer lack of snow, the next problem which has been caused by this is what's called surface hoar, and I'm kind of doing a bit of a video on it to come out at some point. But essentially, what surface hoar is, it's like it is that byproduct of, I guess, those thaws, and so what it means is that, let's say we get a big dump of snow, and it's dry snow. If it's not moist snow or a little bit of warm precip prior, it may well just slide off that hard pack, as it were, or that layer of surface hoar. So that's kind of a bit technical, but that's a lot of the conversation with backcountry skiers in Revelstoke right now, and so everyone's kind of hoping it's sort of warming up a little bit prior, which it has been doing. There's a little bit of snow in the forecast, so nothing too significant, but that's what we're being cautious of as we head into this next little period.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about Panorama too and show what the conditions were there. They were just like your situation where they just got dumped on early in the year, best snow in 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's been dry for a month. So this is their probably most popular run. It's called 1,000 Views, but it'll give you an idea of the level of the snow. Let me go ahead and play that video off the top of the summit and 1,000 views at Panorama.
Go 1,000 peaks. Here we go. First run.
You can hear the snow. See how it's kind of chalky and skied out a little bit. This is about as high as it gets in that resort. I mean, it's beautiful. There's coverage. But overall, the skiing is pretty good. But you have to be careful. It's a little icy.
And when exactly was this for this week or?
That was last weekend.
Last weekend.
As you can see, that's not too bad.
No.
I mean, and it's beautiful there too, right? So I've got some more video we can go over later too, and we talk a bit more about Panorama. The Taten Bowl is a popular place there, and that was a little challenging because it was crusty. You don't want to be on double black diamonds in the crust.
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned crust and chalky as two words which I think sum up a lot of places the last 2 weeks. Like anything off piste was just not going to be worth it on the legs, on like the experience. Like it has literally just been a couple of weeks of get your groomer skis out, you know, get the edges sharpened, get the bases waxed, right?
Let me show you this too. This is the Taten Bowl, which is their double black diamond area that used to be only accessible by cat.
Oh yeah.
Let's go ahead and throw this on here. But this is what the Taten Bowl looks like. You kind of have to do a little hiking,
stop recording.
A little skiing.
Yeah.
See me talking to my camera. But then we chose to go to Never Never, I think is the name of the run. And it didn't look too bad. Let me add this to here. Let's see. So this is the start of that.
Never Ever Land. Here we go.
This is just kind of give you an idea. That's all really stiff. Like if you turn in that, it gets sketchy.
Yeah.
But all this, all that is what it was like. Skied all the way down in that valley. I have a ton of video of that I'll use someday. But that ended up being hard skiing, and the run out was sketchy. It's the first time there and not knowing it very well.
I imagine the stuff with like north facing would have been a slightly better, just with a little less sun exposure. But yeah, same thing really for us. I mean, just not worth it. So you may do with what you can, I guess, right? Like as I said, like it could have been worse. We could have had like some massive warming trend, and normally, I mean, I'm feeling for you guys in the US, although I know some areas are getting hit now, aren't they? I think.
No. I mean, if you're in the Midwest, which really isn't ski territory, maybe the Northeast is getting some, but any of the West really isn't getting much of anything.
I keep seeing these news articles about like the worst snowstorm in whatever many years somewhere, but I don't know if that's hitting the East Coast or the West for you guys.
It's the East Coast and the Midwest, which is strange. So places that normally don't get a bunch of snow, like Washington, D.C., or even down to North Carolina,
okay,
are getting hit. New York's getting some snow, so I imagine they're getting into the mountains too.
Yeah.
But it's not where you want it in the U.S. is the north, like the Northeast or the West or the Northwest. Yeah. And it's kind of hitting everywhere but those spots.
So this basically means that everyone where you are and on the West Coast is coming up here for President's Week, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they had any smarts about them, that's what I would suggest. I mean, even if it doesn't snow a little bit, at least you've got the base. Go out there, throw some groomers, and have a good groomer day and enjoy Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Canadian resorts will be happy. I can't really speak much for like sort of south of here, you know, the big whites and the sun peaks. But I I can tell you that in the interior, Revy, Kicking Horse, Lake Louise, Banff Sunshine, these are the places which have the best snow right now. There is a clip we can pull up as well. So I've kind of been pretty preoccupied.
This one?
Yeah, no, this one. So this is a clip from a day trip I did to Louise, actually, with my dad quite recently, and I've done a day. I did an early season day trip there a couple of years back, but really not been able to explore Louise with its full terrain open since I was, well, I mean, you're talking 20 years ago now. So it's pretty cool to kind of revisit it and see it in all its former light. Definitely colder there. We started the morning, got there, and it was, I want to say it was -18 Celsius. But by the sort of the time we kind of got there, the sun was exposing on it, things heated up pretty quickly. But pretty fun. This was just like a warm-up groomer. We did actually do a bit of boot packing, and yeah, chalk. Just chalk all the way. So we kind of retired, I think, fairly early to the bar. But we did here. We did a day in Kicking Horse straight after. They hung around for another day there before they came to Revy. So yeah,
Kicking Horse is getting the most snow of all, isn't it?
Kicking Horse has had a pretty good start. Yeah, I mean, the thing I couldn't help but notice with Kicking Horse, or at least what I was feeling at Kicking Horse and looking, was going, man, every time I've been to these resorts, it's either been cool or just clear and dry. And I've not been able to time it where they've had a big dump of snow, because everyone says that about Kicking Horse. I mean, so the two guys who I was with, again, guys in their 60s, good skiers, but maybe a little bit more sort of less fast, less agile. They're your typical European skiers. So they loved Kicking Horse because of the Eagle Eye restaurant at the top.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, okay. Japan is getting slammed. I have friends heading to Japan, and it's so cheap and no snow here in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we have to get somebody on here from Japan to jump on this podcast and tell us what's up.
We do. We do. There's a few people I could think of who might be willing to come on and tell about the snow and what it's like over there. And yeah, Japan is Japan. It is just its own. Sorry, I got the hiccups here. You speak.
Well, I know everybody I've ever known that's gone to Japan has loved it, and they've happened to hit a storm cycle. I mean, I was in Okinawa when I was a kid, but I'd love to go to mainland just for the food. But It sounds like the skiing's next level too. I can't speak to it much, and I'm enjoying getting to Europe right now. I don't know if Japan's even going to happen anytime soon, but someday, hopefully.
I mean, this guy's correct though. I mean, right now the exchange. I mean, getting over there is super cheap, which I think is creating a bit of a tourism problem at the main areas. But I know. I mean, the thing about Japan is they've got so many little resorts, lesser known resorts that still have that high quality snow, that vast amounts of snow. So yeah, like on the mainland, for example, everyone might go to Hakuba, but you can travel a short way to Miyako. That's one which I'd love to check out. And Niseko is just rammed these days from what it looks like. But I know there's a couple of other resorts fairly nearby.
We have another thing here, which is a softball question.
Yeah.
But not, it's I like to give people an answer. So
yeah,
I'm going to throw it on here just because it's fun. I like it when people comment.
That's.
I'll let you answer that one first.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you've got to choose one. Just give them one.
No, I can't because that's. Oh well, I mean, look, it's got to be Rutherstone for where I am at my point in my life. 6-7 years ago, if you'd asked me that question when I was working in Austria, I would have said Sol. I would have said that resort. So, yeah, it kind of depends. I mean, what's yours?
Okay, I'm going to give him a straight up answer. No, I'm not either. But I do these reviews, and it helps me be kind of black and white about it. If I'm skiing
Yeah.
in Europe, Zermatt. I know maybe that's played out, but I loved the city. I thought it was beautiful. I had a great time. Zermatt. In the States, so far, it's been Copper Mountain. The skiing's insane. It has a good village. I could ski there every day of my life at Copper Mountain. And so far in Canada, my highest rated one is Revelstoke. I love the town. The skiing has got all the challenge in the world. It gets good snow.
Yeah.
The views are gorgeous. So Canada, Revelstoke, US, Copper, Europe, Zermatt.
So hang on, you mentioned the town of Revi. So what was your take on the town of Panorama?
Okay, well, you're going to get me back on Panorama, and I wouldn't mind talking about Panorama. I got a picture. One of the things I like about Panorama is the village.
Yeah.
And I happen to have some video on cue here of the village.
Oh, what are the chances?
Yeah, well, we didn't plan that, but
it's almost like we didn't plan it.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So you can see here the village.
Oh yeah.
Is perfect. It's at the bottom. There's like 4 restaurants, 2 bars, lots of places to stay, some hot springs. It's nice and friendly. The nightlife's not wild, but it has everything you need. So the village is cool. And there's a lot of guys like you out there working, and girls from New Zealand or whatnot, girl from Portugal. And it was one of the few places I've been that the food was good.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to start with that. The next thing is I'll show you the summit, which this shows a little bit of the views, which I've shown earlier. Let's see.
Did you think the town? I mean, so one thing. I mean, I'm looking at it there. The town, is that is that right at the base of the resort, or was the town separate from the resort village?
Just a second. Let me explain this video, and I'll get to that. So there's just one of the nice views off to the kind of west of the park. It also shows some of their lack of snow, right? That they've had to do some of that.
Yeah.
So here's a nice shot of the very top, and they've got this little Tayton Lodge or Tayton Hut, or the Summit Hut. It's got great food. You get drinks.
Yeah.
But as you can see, it's just gorgeous up there, right? And there's all kinds of steep runs that are crazy. All stuff on Tayton, not Tayton, but Tayton. Anyway, with all that being said, you talk about the city. The city also has Invermere down below.
Okay.
And it's a legit city in itself that's starting to grow up, and there's a lake down there so you can go ice skating and cross country skiing.
Yeah.
There's also hot springs that they're great. There's Radium hot springs that I recommend. You can see the second review I ever did was a Panorama. And what I liked about it is I grew up 3.5 hours away, and I'd never even heard of the place. So it was a big surprise. Great skiing. The only kind of Achilles heel it has, it only gets about, sorry for using this, but about 200 inches of snow a year.
Let me put that into a converter.
Yeah.
For our metric followers.
About 500 centimeters, I believe.
Okay, so it's still pretty much, no, I don't want it in feet. I want it in meters. Yeah, just a little over 5 meters. So that's still kind of like, that's sort of what a lot of the other interior resorts might get. You're sort of more, because it's south compared to here, right? Like kind of just about a little bit above red and white water, I believe.
Yeah, I think so, but also, of course, east. And I think that's one of the advantages. It does stay colder. The best comparison is probably Fernie, that's very nearby.
Yeah. But they get a lot of the storms from the US, I believe, don't they? So they get a bit more snow down over there.
Yeah, and that's the one thing is it gets a little less snow. And the joke that I heard when I was there is they call it the donut hole, because sometimes the ski resorts around them will just get dumped on, and it skips them for some reason. I'm starting to learn more about the mountain ranges, and I think that's part of the Purcell mountain range. It's actually a thought I had. It'd be fun to get somebody on here that's a geologist or something that could explain all the mountain ranges and how they connect. But I don't know. It depends.
someone from like Avalanche Canada would be really interesting to speak to. Have you watched that? I just watched it the other day. Actually, it's a little 17-minute Arc'teryx movie called The Pass.
No.
It's free. It's on YouTube. I'd highly recommend it. And it follows the Avalanche Canada workers who are based up in Rogers Pass at the summit. So they kind of cover all the, all the mountain ranges and some stunning visual stuff in there of actually watching the army firing off the howitzer to trigger these avalanches.
Old school, yeah.
Yeah, old school, but like, for the avalanche forecasters, like the daily monitoring of the snow is a huge part of, them sort of sending out advisories on avalanche warnings and whatnot. So, just something I'd highly recommend if you're into that sort of thing.
What is it called? I might pull it up right now and just do a quick preview of it.
It's just called The Pass.
Okay. Wow, here we go. I'm opening up now. I'm going to share my screen. Does that look right?
Yeah, I don't know if there's whichever.
I want to make sure the volume is off so we don't get nailed.
Yeah, don't get copyrighted.
So there's Rogers Pass. That's in your backyard, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So this actually kind of covers one of the forecasters who she actually lives in Revelstoke. And if you want a cool little movie to watch, like it's definitely something that's not too, it's not designed to kind of scare you into staying clear of the backcountry like some of the other informative stuff is. Like there's a genuine there's a genuine story behind it there, and I think it does make you want to learn more about it.
I threw a link in the comments there if anybody wants to watch it. Here's some of the stats here of Revy, by the way. Elevation, 2,400 meters or about 8,000 feet.
Yeah.
Vertical drop, 4,200 feet or 1,300 meters. Let's look at the snowfall. 520 centimeters or 200 inches is about right on this. Yeah. But this is really the thing that's impressive is it's not busy, right? There's just never lines.
No.
And there's a good spread between beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert. Yeah. And I went to the Tate and I didn't expect it to be that hard, but it's going to test you. So,
I mean, like there's a good amount of elevation there. I mean, that's about 200 meters higher at the top, like in terms of lift access than Revelstoke. Like 40% snowmaking, that's quite a sizable amount. And a lot more lifting infrastructure. I think we've got roughly about the same amount of trails there, but in terms of kilometers of skiing, I don't see that anywhere. But they don't. Oh no, sorry, 2,975 acres. So I think a little less terrain, would you say, than Revelstoke?
Yeah. I mean, and part of that 2,900 is the Tate Bowl. So take away 800 or 900, it's really more like 2,000 plus.
Uh-huh.
And the Tate Bowl's not for everybody. So Revelstoke doesn't add the sub peak runs to their acreage, does it?
No, I don't know actually. I don't think it would because you've got a boot pack to that. What about the lift infrastructure? So it says there that you guys have got like 10 chairs. Is that 10? That's a
10 lifts.
And then some snowcat shuttles. So like those chairs, are they all, your sort of typical Canadian ones that have been around for 15 to 20 years? And,
here's what I'd say is they've got a lot of different kinds of chairs.
Yeah.
But the three that get you to the summit are all high-speed quads.
Okay.
So you shoot up there pretty quick. The bottom chair that's high-speed gives you intermediate and beginner runs. Then there's another chair that gives you advanced and intermediate. And then the one that gets all the way to the top, which may not be high-speed, gets you to all the double black and black diamonds. So it just, depending on where you want to stay, you can stay on that chair.
Sure. I mean, look,
you have a trail map. Hang on, I'll show you the trail map really quick. I didn't mean to make this an advertisement for Panorama, but
Are you getting commission on the side for this?
I think I should, because I tell everybody about going to Panorama because it's relatively close from where I live. But yeah, you can see there's the 3 chairs that get you to the top. There's the bottom one, and then a beginner area.
Yeah.
And as you go up higher, this is the kind of intermediate advanced chair. And when you go all the way to the top, to the summit, this is all these double blacks. And then, then you kind of have to work your way. You don't need skins. And then this whole Taten, like I said, I was surprised. I did Never Neverland, and it was more challenging than I expected. I guess some of these others are a better way to get down.
Seems remarkably similar to like North Bowl and Greeley Bowl at Revelstoke, where it then sort of, you can kind of go through the back of the bowls into some gladed runs and then come back down onto a cat track that bring you close to a chair. But the reason why I asked about the lift access was, I mean, you and I have had a couple of messages this week where we were discussing the topics, and one of the things we were talking about was, what are the trends going to be for the year in the industry. And I think certainly weather is one to kind of discuss, because that's a big concern right now. We've got the Olympics in Italy coming up pretty soon, and I know they're struggling. But like in Canada especially, like investment in lift infrastructure has got to be at the top of the list for a lot of resorts for a multitude of reasons. Like Canada is definitely growing, I think, in global popularity right now, and there's quite a few resorts, which I don't know what this would be. I'd be keen to hear your thoughts as someone visiting from the States. But yeah, there is I think a lot of the infrastructure is starting to require some upgrades pretty quick.
The lift infrastructure is from the 90s basically, and it needs to be updated.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some well-documented cases now at certain resorts.
Kicking Horse, right?
There's been some cases on the East Coast as well. But just generally, I as I understand it through watching a couple of Peak Rankings have done a couple of good videos on these recently, and I'm just regurgitating what they said, but a lot of these lifts, their lifespan is roughly around 15 to 20 years anyway. And what they do in Europe, in certain places, that is anyway, like Austria, I know, certain resorts will have a business model where there's a percentage of their annual profits, or maybe just the revenue. I'm not sure how it's calculated, but that's then reinvested every single year into lift infrastructure to some degree or another, whether that's like, mechanical parts or full lifts or, better chairs, comfier chairs, heated seats, covers, all that type of thing. I know they've made an investment recently in Sunshine. I believe there's a brand new.
Well, I was there, and they have the bubble lifts on all of them, and I think a couple of their new chairs are heated.
Yeah, don't they have like a big 8? It's a 6 or 8 seater, which basically it's one of those things that kind of looks like it'd be on the side of a football field with all the players sitting in the dugout.
Yeah, it's nice, and they kind of have to do it there because it's famous for getting colder than hell, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, I find it quite fascinating that the one place that has seen a new lift infrastructure outside of somewhere like a Whistler is a Banff, which is in a national park. Now, as I'm saying that, there's also been a new lift at Lake Louise, which is also in the national park. So a lot of these resorts are in national parks, but those have been able to somehow get those through, and I'm sure that's taken a few years. That's timings and orders and buying power definitely will factor into it.
I have something to say about that that's interesting, right? So Melissa and I are daydreaming about buying a condo up there and looking at different resorts. We both like Canada, which that brings up concerns. They don't really want Americans buying up there, at least the locals, but realtors want you to do it. So when I look at all these resorts, I want to someday make a video, but I've got to get through all this footage. Yeah. Like what resort has private property? What resort is on leased land? What resort is on national forest land? Who are the owners? Because that all matters at it's a risk if you buy a $500,000 property, if it's under new ownership in a year, or if it's on leased land, when's that lease end? And on top of that is what I've noticed is like, say, the Epic and Icon passes, they've been making so much money. They got lucky when this started to blow up because what happened to interest rates, all these mountain towns with remote working, all their investments doubled.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing them invest in the States anyway, a lot of money on lift infrastructure, especially Big Sky. And all these other resorts are getting like one new chair every other year.
Yeah.
So I think they're reinvesting into their infrastructure. I don't know how they calculate where or why they're going to drop the millions it takes to put a chair, but I'll tell you, Boyne, or who I think owns Big Sky, like they're just, man, the amount of money they're dropping at Big Sky in Montana is shocking. Like they had a ton of chairs 3 years ago and they just put another one in. Anyway, that was a bit of a rant, but
no, but I mean, I think it ties into what we're saying there. Like, I don't know which ownership ring Big Sky falls under, but if it's one of the two conglomerates, then you can be sure that buying power is a big reason behind them being able to, like purchase as many lifts as they are doing. Because rather than, saying, hey, we want to purchase a four-man to replace an old 3-man or something, they can turn around and go, hey, we want to put in across various resorts, we want to put in 10 lifts and we want this, and they get a smoking big discount from it, and they probably pay a huge chunk of change up front, and the rest, obviously, they come to an agreement on, and that puts them to the top of the queue. And they've got the cash.
Well, I've worked at a smaller resort too called Lookout, and I got the Icon Pass, and I feel like it's kind of working out in the States because people that actually don't have tons of money to spend or don't want to make the investment, some of these smaller resorts are getting a lot of people, like Lookout Pass here, or even 49 Degrees North, where you can get affordable ticket.
Right.
I think at least here you see the money go in both places because Lookout's slammed on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably one you've never heard about except me talking about it.
No, I don't think I have heard you mention that one.
Yeah. Well, I have a video on it. Check it out, everybody. And if I did a live stream like this about ski joring in Wallace, which is a cool town at the base of it.
Yeah.
It's a fun little place. There's also hot springs nearby. I don't know. I think we touched on everything. Does anybody have any questions out there for?
Well, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Is there anything from your position that you think is going to be a trend going into the remainder of this year, whether that's the end of this season or the next one? Is there anything that you see that in the industry that sort of, you've taken notice of?
A ski trend.
Yeah. I mean, you're in quite a unique position in the sense that you've got the multi-resort pass, and so you're able to travel around and see a lot of these resorts, but you're also you're kind of one of the main markets that like people are trying to reach out to right now on this side of the ocean anyway. Like you're the American, so the US dollar over here in Canada goes pretty well. You've got these multi-resort passes, so there's a lot of resorts that would want you to come there. So I mean, from a consumer point of view,
here's what I'll tell you what I think. I'm gonna start this. First of all, there's been times in the past where Canada's dollar was doing better than ours,
right.
And right off the bat, you saw them sweeping up property around Sandpoint and Schweitzer like nobody's business. All of a sudden, there was Canadians everywhere. So that really matters. And if Canada has a housing correction and start struggling, which it seems to be headed in that direction, Americans are going to come up there and buy. As far as the resorts in the U.S., I think it's going to break up two ways. Just like I said, you either have to commit the $1,500 to buy an Icon or Epic and get out at least 10 times a year to ski if you've got the money for that. So you're talking upper middle class or people that love skiing, or upper class, or then you're going to have the kind of normal middle class or people that want to get in. They're going to be going out to the Lookouts. I don't know what'll happen to the ski resorts in the middle.
Yeah.
But I think there's enough people that want to ski that I think all the resorts are going to do pretty well. And also, we'll see. You can't see the books at Alterra because it's private, but I've got to imagine they're swimming in money right now because real estate's gone up so much. I see more investment. I see more consolidation. but I also see the small places working because of that. So I think maybe the mid-sized resorts may be the ones that hurt. That'd be my guess. I wasn't ready for a friend question.
No, a really good point. Again, go check out a recent peak rankings video where they basically talk about the not one company in particular, but this industry trend of the large companies who have these multi-resort passes, and how to an extent there's a risk of them eating themselves because the original market that they were sort of targeting, or I guess like the middle class, is actually being priced out of the industry, whether that's through property, through that trying to get them from the smaller entry-level resorts to the bigger resorts. I'll have to show it you, actually. I think I'll have to find it and put it in the comments afterwards. There's some guy who spent like 4 days at his old resort in Colorado, and he documented the pricing of it for one person. And I think he basically figured out that, if you were someone who had a family, maybe 2 kids and a wife, and you were going to try and take them there for that equivalent period of 4 days, it was looking like it was going to cost you something like 20,000 USD.
Melissa and I went up to Kimberly, right?
Yeah.
And Melissa has a great job. I have an okay job. They're charging $160 a day to ski there, Canadian.
Yeah.
That was a lot of damn money, right? And I don't, they're like one of those mid-sized resorts. And then I'm going down to work in Colorado, and I could go ski Telluride.
Yeah.
They don't have very good snow, but I'd love to. I'd love to make a video. But a ticket to ski there for 1 day is $260.
Yeah.
The reason I say that, I should, you'd think I love skiing, I'd go spend it, but I don't know, the prices are scaring me away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've talked. I mean, as we're sort of wrapping up, I guess you talked a lot. We flooded a bit about real estate, haven't we? And you and I have mentioned this. What we want to try and do for the next one is we want to try and get someone on in the kind of real estate industry of a ski town, whether that's Panorama, somewhere like Revelstoke, where real estate is a hot topic right now. We want to get them on to maybe get insights into what it's like to buy a house and what is actually involved in doing that. You, I would assume, are probably a lot closer in life than I am to buying a house, but it's something which I'm interested in. So we're going to go away and try and find someone who's want to come on. My question to the audience, because I can see we've got a couple of people watching, is what would be your question to a ski town real estate agent? If you had anything to ask, because what we want to try and do is gather these and then get someone on in maybe 2 or 3 weeks that we can pose these questions to.
Yeah, and I've got a guy in mind. I may ask him. I've been talking to Panorama, but if there's somebody that loves doing this kind of thing that has that knowledge, I can tell you right now, it's a lot to know. Revelstoke, you can only buy resort properties if you're American. Panorama, it's pretty much a free-for-all. So it's a fascinating thing, and there's laws around it, and there's a lot to know. And now there's quarters, which are like old school timeshares. But yeah,
I mean, again, I'm keen to know what you've learned from Panorama, because my admittedly limited understanding of here, because Revelstoke falls under a resort municipality that is excluded from the federal ban on overseas investment. So I don't know if that is just excluded to resort property or if it also applies to properties in town. I could be wrong.
What I do know about that is talking to a realtor, you can buy a resort property as a U.S. person. I don't think you can buy in town, and only certain ones are designated resort properties.
Yeah.
The resort properties they're building there are as expensive as hell.
Yeah.
So you better be a big shot. The difference in Panorama, I don't even think it's listed that way, but from talking to a realtor, you can buy there, and the properties are a third the price. So,
okay.
I mean, with that being said, and I don't know why it breaks down that way, but the realtor said, no, you can buy here. You can buy anything you want.
In Panorama, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Any last questions, everybody? If not, we're going to call it a day. I think. Thanks for the comments we did have. Yeah, it's interesting. We're going to pray for some snow. It doesn't look like there's enough in the forecast, but who knows what'll happen.
I think we're going to get a little bit here, and so I'll be back out filming and yeah, definitely. Hopefully we get some more. There's a Solomon demo day here on Saturday, so I might be going out to test some new skis.
Nice. Good luck. That's the one positive is this low ski year. There may be a good deal on skis.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Take care. Cheers.